водицы. Самый чистый, как всегда. Ребята, очередной этап. Справа все убрали, оставили лаги только. Сейчас будем дальше целить.
Вот это да. Ребята дождались наконец-то. Вот это на муху. На червя не берет, на плесу не берет, а на муху взял. Вот это да. Красавчик. собрались, мы прибрали. Погода наладилась, ветер дует, так что будет идти легко, комаров не будет. Счастливая избушка, тенты оставили.
I'm 64 years old. I live full-time in my van, which is a Fiat Ducato Maxi, 2016 turbo diesel. I live fully off-grid with solar power and a lithium system. Come and have a look inside. This is my van. And my van has a name, and it's called the Mouse House. And there's a couple of little mice in there. Would you like to come inside? Come on in. Well, this part of the van is probably the bit that makes this van a bit different to other vans. When the white door's shut, it's just a tradie van, but when it's open, it's a beautiful little house. Complete with windows that open, actually. This one opens one way, and this one over here opens another way. So I can get breezes in from that side, actually. From whichever direction it happens to be coming from. And behind that window is my office. I actually kept this because I had it in my house and I loved it. And it's just a cabinet, but it has a pull-out shelf, which is excellent for a keyboard because I like to work on the iMac standing up quite a lot. So, a lot of gear here. You could call this my office. You could call the first 3 drawers my office. You could call the bottom drawer the tool shed. I had a house and I had a mortgage. And as you might know, being an artist, your income is not much. So then I thought, well, if I have something small and beautiful that I own without a mortgage, that's going to make me feel a lot better than having 4 empty bedrooms and a mortgage and then maintenance coming along. So I sold the house, paid off the mortgage, bought an empty van and found people that would do what I wanted to do. I needed it to be beautiful, I needed it to be artful. I needed that every time I walked into it, I liked it. And I do. This little door, if you knock, takes you into Narnia. No, it doesn't really. It takes you into my cab. I can clamber through there if I want to, or I can reach through in there for anything that I need. And that's a heat-proof curtain to just keep any heat from the cab coming into here. It's really well insulated. I think I've got double insulation on the ceiling and the floor and the walls. It's all insulated well. So it's good to keep any heat there might be out that way. This side, here we've got the kitchen. I like to cook, so I have lots of spices and knives. This is my pantry. This one here. Tea towel rack may stay on. So it's quite a long drawer that I pull out. I have a lot. I have all the spices and there, and I have all the sauces there, and olive oils and various bits and pieces in there. And the one at the bottom here has a hot water system at the back, but it also stores things like coffee beans, coffee grinder, and a fire extinguisher. The hot water system, I just flick a switch and the gas turns it on and it'll fire up until I have hot water. A 3-burner stove, an oven, grill, and 1 or 2 pots and pans. These are probably very messy, but I do live in my van. I do live in it. So this is what they look like when you live in them. A few pots and a few plates and things. Oh, and there's a really big cupboard here. It goes the full width of the van up in here, so many more things can be stored in there. So I spent about a year researching, reading, looking at tiny houses, looking at van builds and picking little bits out of them until I came up with this design. I used these books and drew a lot. Well, there you go. There's the picture of my van. Can you see that? These, well, anyway, they're not very clear because they're in pencil, but this is how it happened. I think maybe 3 or 4 of these books, and I designed it down to the millimetre. So every millimetre of this van is my design. And I was fortunate enough to find, I kept looking until I found somebody that would build it. And I found a young couple called Roaming Wild Campers, and they're based in a vineyard in Mudgee. Well, the van itself, I remember I paid $26,000 for. It had 160,000 kilometres on it. I'm pretty sure all the inside, including, you know, the toilet, the fridge, the stove, the extra insulation, maybe 45,000. So maybe about 70,000 more. This is my sink. Was once a preserving bowl when I had a house, an old French copper preserving bowl. Taps that I found in the garden on an old enamel sink set up. And this, I think it's cedar, the whole bench, live edge timbered cedar. The water comes from a 70 litre freshwater tank that's underneath, and there's also a 70 litre grey water tank. Personally, I use a bowl in my sink, and if there's dry patches in the grass, I'd rather throw my water out than hold it in a tank. But I do have a tank. Underneath that, we've got the usual dishwashing, liquid type stuff covered, and the atomic lids in there when I travel. Enough cutlery for an army, even though I live by myself. I couldn't let everything go. Some of this cutlery is really lovely. Another drawer and another one at the bottom there, more bits and pieces. To work out what I needed in the van, I wrote down what I did each part of the day from when I woke up, so that I made sure I had those things. I had the place to brush my teeth. I had somewhere to stand up to work on the computer because I like standing up. So I just thought about what it was that I did and what I really liked doing and what I would miss if I didn't have it. This part of the bench is where I can put things. I've got plenty of room. But underneath it, this one lifts up, and you can see there's a couple of hinges. And this is actually my bathroom. So this will hold up here. I can put a shower curtain on here. And inside I have it's a composting toilet. It has no chemicals whatsoever. And I also have a shower that I can just kind of hang up here. It's got a trigger on it, so I'm not using too much water. I can, would you like to see some water? Let's see the water flow. There is a drain hole in there, of course. So I turn on the tap, quite groovy taps. And we have water. And the pump for all this is under my bed. So it's under about that area, and the pump comes through for this and for the taps here. So that's a two-in-one thing. I've got extra bench space, and I've got a bathroom, and I've got storage. Definitely living intentionally is a big part of it. That's right. You know how much water you have on board, so you're water conscious. You know how much sunlight's been on the solar panels, so you know how much energy you've got. So sometimes, like if I was parked here for a long time under a lot of shade, I probably wouldn't use the coffee grinder. I might do it by hand. I might just drink tea that day. And over here is a sitting area. I'll just shut this door and show you. So, close the door here. Open the window, get some in. So this is kind of my all-purpose sitting area, I suppose. These things just hang here, towels, a jacket. I have a little library. And this, so I can sit on here, and I can pull this table out here, eat a meal in quite a civil way. I can also invite a friend and put a fold-out chair. So that's that part. I'm sitting on the fridge, which is, I think it's about 50, oh there you go, it's 52 litre Bushman. At the moment it's running at 3 degrees. At the end of this part is well, this is all the solar stuff, which honestly, apart from telling you that there's a 200 amp hour lithium battery, and there's other stuff and it all works. And oh, now you're facing straight into the bedroom. So without moving very far at all, we've come to the bedroom. Overhead, they're my clothes cupboards. So right now we've got a disco happening from the crystal. My bed, would you believe, even though it looks big, is a single bed, because behind this bed I've got more storage. So there's more storage cupboards behind there. This is a big skylight. I think at the time it was the biggest I could get. And I can wind this up so high that if I want to, I can stand on the bed and do night photography through there. I'll just show you how the cover of the two things, take the disco away, this can pull back, and this one stops the full moon keeping you awake all night. The only downside is when it rains a lot, and I think other people in vans will say the same thing. I'm fortunate in as much as I do like to do a lot of work with photography and sometimes small film, so I'm occupied. Solo women living in a van, that is the first question. Is it safe? Will I be safe? And a good idea is to have the way to get from the cab, from the back into the cab and drive away. That's a good idea. If you park somewhere that you're not sure of, don't put your awning out. Just be ready to drive away. Show you what's under my bed from the back of the van. If you start on one side, I have LP gas storage, and I have two big cylinders, one behind the other. When the first one runs out, I just turn the tap over and run on the back one until I change it over again. That's just really handy. You don't want to run out of gas halfway through cooking. And on this side, this is another solar panel here. So I can put chairs, tables in these spaces. Even the back doors are insulated as well underneath these panels. And I personally, even they're not the most artful things, they work really well. This van is only 6 metres long, and it has a bathroom, a kitchen, a lounge room, a bedroom, a storage shed. It has a lot for 6 metres. Buy a van, get a van, do it. Plan it though, plan it. Spend some time, draw it, work out what you want in it, because I think it's a bit difficult to keep buying and selling vans because you made a mistake. Do it. Life's too short to you know, somewhere along the track saying, I wish I'd have done. Have a go at it.
It's a 89 VW.
Thanks for watching episode 2 of Home on the Road.
So
If
that
you
means
enjoyed
he's a
this
four-wheel
episode,
drive,
be sure to
so
check out
loves
the
dirt
others in the
roads.
series.
But
And if you want to help me
also
keep
loves
making episodes, please
Unfortunately,
consider
yes.
supporting me on Patreon.
We've been living
Some pretty cool rewards
off and
there,
on for the
and you
last
can
2
chip in
years
for
in
as
Mardi,
little
and
as
have just
$1 a
moved in
month.
full-time about 6 months ago.
and we're trying to get around Australia and also run our business from the road.
So let's take a look inside. So I'm going to show you my favourite part of the van, which is the kitchen. So if I lift this up, this is where the gas cooker is, and then you can pull this out to get to all of the storage underneath. Originally it was just a cupboard, but then Alex had the idea of putting this on slides. You could bring it out and it makes it so much easier. If we shut that, I'll show you where the cupboard is. So you can also go in this way if you just want to quickly get something out without opening the top. And then we also decided to use like quite a rough wood so that we could use all of our bench tops as chopping boards and make them look more rough because they get a bit older. The restoration started as a paint job.
That was a brief from my mechanic. Started as a paint job, just a quick paint job, easy as, in and out, a couple of weeks. 6 months later, we're still in the shop. But we
Did everything.
Yeah, once we started, it was hard to figure out where to stop.
Well, we started with them 1 month.
Right.
We're like, let's just like fix a few things. We'll give ourselves a month and then we'll jump on the road. So we moved out of our house in November to renovate the van for a month, and then we didn't actually move into it till May.
We just got to a point where we're like, wow, this is taking a lot longer than we ever imagined.
But when it got to that point, we're like, we've committed so much, we just have to finish now. So it just.
By that stage, everything had come out, the dash had come out, I'd stripped back the inside, I'd sanded everything, all the awning and the canvas was pulled out.
The van was a shell, like it was a complete shell. I didn't work on the van quite as much as Alex, so I was still working like on the business more so. And I came in one day and I remember thinking, oh, last week Alex said it was going to be finished this week. And I was always like, oh, what? I don't understand. And then I came in one day and I literally watched him, like, both of them try to put this bolt in for like 4 hours. And I'm like, oh shit, this is why it's taking so long. And they're like, yeah, you don't know, but like one day a bolt might take 4 hours.
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was one of the best things I've ever done. Like, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done, but if we had planned it a bit better.
We probably wouldn't have done it if we planned it better though. We would have been like, no way, we're spending that amount of time on a van rebuild. Oh my God.
What do you think, Oz?
Oh my God, it's so good. And then over here, we have our sink. The water comes in under here, but we've also got a filter. Funny story, we actually have only just had water for the last 6 months. About 2 years ago, we lent our van to a friend who accidentally filled the water tank up with petrol, which sounds funny, but was really annoying. So we've only just got water back, which is really nice to have. And then next to that is this little bit here. So a little hidden section where all of our knives and forks are. And this is our fridge, which again is hidden to look a bit prettier. So we made sure that we had a fridge that was big enough so that we could really go off-road for a few days without having to go to the shops, which meant that we really needed to have a fridge that was this way facing, not like an esky type of fridge. I honestly think it's the best thing we bought that goes in this van. So this is our pantry, which is a little fold-down cupboard with a nice little leather strap. Where we tried to make the most of our limited space for food, and we actually managed to fit everything we need in here.
One of the best things about living in the van is that everything kind of has its place. Like, you're not living with too much stuff. You really have to think about each object that comes in here, and obviously it has to be brown.
In our case, it must be a shade of brown. Mustard we will allow.
Are a little bit obsessed with the 70s, if you can't tell. Everything needs to have its place. It has to be meaningful. You really value these objects. We've got clothes storage here. We've got mine and Moz's clothes here. And these are actually removable, so you can take them in and out of the cupboard easy enough, and they can still be organised. We have our electronics up the front here. So this is where all our camera and all our computers can live in one spot. So they're neatly organised up the front. We have under the rock and roller bed here, we have our shoe storage and our camping equipment. So if you want to go on a hike, grab our backpack, stuff it full of our camping equipment, and we're off for a couple of nights. But previously that wasn't very accessible, so I actually built this drawer to pull out as a drawer. So just to add a bit more functionality and make it way more accessible. And then we've got the surfboard, which is probably one of the biggest things we had trouble with fitting. We were thinking about doing the roof and having roof racks, but we didn't want to screw into the fiberglass roof at the top, so we kind of ended up racking it in here, aren't we? Yeah, this is the solution. So I'll show you our favourite feature of the van. This isn't actually a original feature, there was a bit of restoration work done, but when we want to park up and we want to convert this into a lounge space, we use these fancy captain seat bases. We swivel that seat around and then we unclip this cabinet and pull this out here, and this becomes a coffee table, work desk, whatever you like.
So we have a hat brand called Will & Bear that we launched about 3.5 years ago. All of our team members are kind of all over Australia and the world now. It's like a virtual team, so it's like we have this one task board that we're all in and we chat all the time. We all have our tasks set up, so it's like a really serious organisation has to go into us living what looks like a carefree van life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The concept of our brand is to inspire people to get outdoors, and the hope that when they're outdoors they'll then respect nature and want to give back to it. So the whole idea of us being in a van really ties into our ethos for our business as well. So this is my stand-up desk, which we have now after we've done the reno. We were really lucky in the fact that we lived in the van for about a year before we decided to restore it, and we kind of learnt the hard way what was really not practical work-wise, and because we're running the business from the road, we made a really big effort to design it to be really functional this time. So I can work from here, or the captain's seat at the front, or at the couch at the back.
And then in terms of the brains of everything, we've got all our sort of electronics set up in here. We've got a 2000 watt inverter, we've got a 4G router, we've got an AGM battery which powers it all. We've got a 200 watt solar blanket that lives in that cupboard but connects up to this hub, and then we run the cord out the window. When it's sunny, we've got the battery charger which automatically switches between the solar and the alternator when you're driving. And then we've got our 240 volt power points which we can use our household appliances, but mainly recharging our laptops, so we can kind of work from anywhere. Once we've parked up and we've popped the roof up, this is our actual secondary storage space. We have got a few items stored up here, like the blanket, there's a card table and a couple of stools that live up there permanently while the pop-up's down even. But this is a super functional space just to get things out of the way. So if we're traveling during the day or just hanging around, and we want to set up fully. Oh, I got a pillow. Come on. We put everything up here, and then we end up with a much sort of neater space. So we're sitting on a rock and roll bed. This folds down into a flat mattress, and then we've got this additional mattress at the top here.
We did used to just sleep on this part. We did for ages actually, but it proved to be not so comfy and not so great for your back. And then as soon as we decided we were going to live full time in the van again, we made an investment to get a proper mattress.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing too was the curtains that you don't see up, but we have them magnet on. we were balancing whether we wanted to put curtains up just because we
Balancing.
wanted.
I wanted curtains. Alex didn't want them because he thought they looked ugly, which is true.
And I wanted to keep the view open, in which you appreciate, but they are actually very handy at night, so we do still need them, but we just pop them on and off when we do need them. So.
It was a good compliment. Originally, we moved into our van because we loved the adventure and we were really inspired on the road. We found that we kind of, I guess, grew the most as humans when we were on the road because we were constantly learning. There's actually so much personal growth that comes from putting yourself in a harder situation.
If we can practice living in this tiny space together, like we could almost work and live like anywhere.
I'm going to pass on a bit of information that one of my friends gave to me, and she said that the breakdowns will be the best part of your adventure. And she was so right. Like every time the van has broken down, like something amazing has happened, or you make something amazing happen out of it, or you learn from it. So I think everything that you think, like you perceive as being a negative, turns into a positive in hindsight.
We get the upside of surfing most days, being by the ocean when we're not, in the city.
Well, we're not broken down in the middle of Australia. We're by the ocean.
And we get to see a country that we want to feel a bit more intimate to.
Thanks so much for watching the first episode of Home on the Road. Alex and Loz had so much great stuff to say that I couldn't fit into this video, so I've put their full-length interview up on my Patreon page. So be sure to check out the rewards there and consider supporting the channel for as little as $1. Thank you.